record, you guys will all get a notification. Obviously, if you're uncomfortable being recorded, you can go ahead and exit the Zoom meeting, but I will go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you all. Possibly. Awesome. All right. Thank you all for taking time out of your Sunday for joining us. I'm going to try to keep it super brief because I know none of us want to look at a TV screen or a computer screen on Sunday. But we are basically just really excited about a couple of programs already in progress for next year. And I know our season hasn't even ended, but that's just how the world's working. We have to look ahead. Here, we're going to be talking about two programs, as well as going over our tryout dates that just went live. And I'll go ahead and start with our first program, which we're really excited about, called OUTLAST Training. And basically, OUTLAST Training is a fitness, program specifically for volleyball players to keep their full physical well-being in mind. Before play, after play, and throughout their practices during the week, and during a full long season that is very grueling on their bodies, and getting them to a point where they can not only prevent injuries but hopefully increase their level of play throughout the years with us and the years that they continue to play volleyball. Our goal with this program is to basically do two things. First is to really prevent any injuries with the sport of volleyball. Drea will talk a little bit more about how high impact the sport of volleyball is, and because of that, there isn't a shortage of injuries. And our goal is to set up a regimen for players to follow before they play, a proper cool down after they play, and really keeping a healthy career throughout their life, keeping them playing for as long as possible. The name OUTLAST actually was inspired by our coach Bart and our 18s. I don't know if Bart is here, but shout out to him. This really was a vision about keeping players playing for as long as possible, as healthy as possible, and for the highest level possible. And with that, I'll move on to Drea, who also helped design the program. I like to think that Bart and her really inspired the design of this. Drea has been with the club for several years, both as a player and as a coach. As a player, she had a phenomenal career at CJVA, leading several of her Black teams to national bids. Had a stellar career at Drew University, finishing at the top of the conference in kills, being named conference player of the week several times during her tenure. And now as a coach has really excelled with her Ruby and Onyx teams to very successful seasons, including leading her 16 Onyx team to open regionals. So good job, Drea. And I'm actually going to send it over to her, who's going to kind of show you how her volleyball background, as on top of her fitness background, is really going to come together to help this program out. Go ahead, Drea.
Thank you for a really warm welcome. And hey, everybody, I'm Coach Drea. Before we get started, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm so passionate about fitness training and injury prevention. So I come from a family of a lot of athletes, some soccer players, a lot of volleyball players. And within my family alone, 3 people have experienced ACL tears. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a super serious knee injury that I think most of the time requires surgery to actually even be able to get better and play sports again. My brother, my sister, and my dad have all torn their ACLs playing a sport. And around the time that they were going through their recovery process, I was able to be with them. And I just kept thinking how much I didn't want that to happen to me. So while I was with them, I was able to learn from them a little bit about how to recover from their injuries and the exercises that they do. My brother, he played soccer at Villanova when he tore his ACL. So he actually had some awesome trainers and PTs with him So I was able to take from all of the different places around me and start building some injury prevention and fitness training routines of my own. And those routines I actually started to do before practices and after practices, as well as before and after games. And Andrea can vouch for me when I say this. I've been doing injury prevention ever since I started at CJVA, and I have yet to have a serious injury or any injury since I started doing injury prevention.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, yeah. But it really showed its validity just throughout such high level competition. Yeah. So enough about me. Let's move on and just talk a little bit more about volleyball. All of you guys should have either played, seen volleyball, and you know that it's a really high impact sport with jumping, landing, pivoting, diving, you name it, it's really high impact. And because of that, it's also really high risk for injuries too. And then with that being said, because it's so high risk, it also leads to a lot of injuries if you don't have a proper fitness training background in when you're playing volleyball. And what that can look like is these common injuries you can see in that chart over there, from concussions, knee injuries, etc. But what I'm going to talk about are the most common injuries, which are ACL tears, the serious knee injuries, patellar tendonitis, which is just a fancy way of saying jumper's knee, and rotator cuff tendonitis, which is an injury you can get in your shoulder. And this just really shows how important it is to have a fitness training foundation when you're playing volleyball. Awesome. And with that being said, fitness training is super, super important. And a lot of times people just think of it as almost secondary or supplemental to their lifestyles. But we see that it's super important and should actually be a priority, especially for volleyball players. And what that looks like is making sure that it's safe and injury prevention as you guys are playing or as your kids are playing as well. And on top of that, injury prevention and fitness training, on top of it being just safe, it also increases the level of your performance a lot. We see this in the most common ways, of course, with building strength, speed, agility, all of that good stuff. But we also see a direct improvement when it comes tournament time and game time, right? So for those of you guys that have been to tournaments, you can sometimes see that teams have a really slow start, whether it's the first few points or for the first entire set. And that's because they're not really warm enough. So with a proper pre-play routine, this will actually make sure that the players are warm and ready to play before they step on the court, which will really make a big difference on those few first couple of points when they first start their games. And then on the flip side to that, we have the post-play routines as well. And that's also equally as important for the longevity of players' volleyball careers, as well as the longevity of how much they can play in a multi-day tournament. So they'll be able to play multiple games in a day while also preventing joint stiffness, muscle soreness, and be able to play for multiple days in a weekend as well. So now that you guys know why OUTLAST training is so important, we can talk a little bit more about how it's going to work in our next club season. So we're going to start off by having OUTLAST training be mandatory for all of our national teams. Because it's so important, our goal is to eventually give the opportunity for OUTLAST training to all of our teams, all of the levels. And that's why we're going to start off next year with making it mandatory for our national teams. And this is going to look like weekly fitness sessions in both locations in person for all of our national teams. And additionally, they're going to get team-specific exercise programs to do during the week when they're not at CJVA. And then, of course, the most important part is they'll also get in-depth, descriptive pre- and post-play routines so that they can minimize their injury and maximize their recovery as well. So what this is going to look like throughout the duration of our long volleyball season is we're going to start off OUTLAST with an assessment and preparation phase. And essentially what that is getting to know our players and getting to know at what part they're in their own fitness journey so that we can train them exactly the way that they personally need it the most. Once we get to know them a little bit better and get through the assessment phase, we're going to jump right in with our action phase. For our weekly sessions, we're going to increase the intensity as we go throughout the season. So it's going to start off primarily with injury prevention and some balance training. And then after that, we're going to build with strength and speed and agility training so that they can get stronger once they have a good foundation of fitness training to begin with. Additionally, with our take-home exercise programs, they're going to be using minimal equipment. So the only thing that they're going to need is resistance bands, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And these exercise programs are going to follow the weekly session. So they're going to get a new exercise program after every weekly session they do. And I'll explain it to them. They'll be able to completely understand what exercises they need to do, how to do it, and how often to do it throughout the week. And then lastly, with a proper warm-up and cool-down routine, we see this a lot in our volleyball teams nowadays and lots of clubs that they just do a basic dynamic warm-up, which is definitely not enough. So because of that, we're going to add on more with some static stretches. Self-myofascial release is just a fancy way of saying rolling out with a foam roller. And then resistance band injury prevention. Resistance bands are going to be crucial to OUTLAST training because of the resistance that it gives and how it's able to build our strength in a very safe and controlled manner as well. And then of course, the cool down is going to have some static stretches and some rolling out of the muscles. This we actually don't see at all in our sport, or very, very rarely. And it's actually equally as important as the warm-up routine as well. So players are going to get in-depth routines, warm-up and cool down to do every time they step on the court, before and after as well. Yeah, and with that being said, I'm going to turn it back to Andrea now to talk a little bit more.
Awesome. Great job. And I just want to quickly add that this is something that has been really used for a long time by our U.S. men's and women's national team. You can see up top, I try to find a couple of snippets. They have great information on how long they actually take to warm up. And as you talked, I can relate as having one of those teams that's a little sleepy, a little slow to get started. And since we've started this new warm up, they're definitely a little bit more awake. And I'm excited to use it. And again, this is something that like all of our programming, we really follow USA Volleyball to follow their lead. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited to get that going. I'm going to move on and talk about our elite team training. Our elite team training is a program we actually had pre-COVID. So if anybody has been with us since that time, we used to run it in the fall before tryouts, when tryouts were in November. Now that things are a bit normal, we are loving the turnout we've had for our tryouts and for our teams, and we're deciding to bring it back. And our elite team training will be a summer program. It's a advanced summer program that is intended for players with previous national team experience. So either you are currently on a national team within our club or at other clubs, and you're looking for competitive play and training. It's going to give the players that are a little bit more advanced an opportunity to train with some of our national teams and our top coaches, and as well as play with other players of their caliber that are also interested in that elite level. We are going to train our teams basically in two ways. The first one is our position-specific training. So players will start the first hour of this program in position-specific sessions where, you know, pin hitters will be with pin hitters, setters with setters, liberos separate, middle separate, and then getting really just some much needed position-specific breakdowns that are often overlooked, you know, for team training or otherwise. And then the second hour will we'll have our players come together and do team system training, some variation of sixes, but with a theme of some type of system that's needed in the game, whether it's add a system, a defensive system, serve, receive, and players are going to get broken down by position, by age group, by level. Because there will be a lot of team play, we ask the players have a really good foundation and knowledge of different offenses, rotations, and really should have advanced volleyball IQ. This ETT program is actually going to serve as an ID program for us, for players that are interested in our national teams for the 2023-2024 season. So any players that are interested are highly encouraged to attend. It's a time for our coaches to take a look at your level, take a look at your coachability, your volleyball IQ, but it's also your time to check out our staff, our training, our program, see if we're a right fit for you. We may not be the right fit for everybody, and that's okay, but it's also your opportunity to check out the players alongside you and the coaches that will potentially be coaching national teams at your age group. We will also be combining our elite team training with our OUTLAST program. Our ETT players will start every practice with that new pre-play injury prevention regimen, and we will be providing the resistance bands. Our players will also end every practice with our new post-play cool down. Foam rollers also provided to really get a full experience of what we plan on doing for the following year. When is elite team training? We are basically holding two types of elite team trainings. One will be a night clinic, and I'll talk about that one first because that one is a 3-week series that will start the second week of July and basically lead all the way up to our tryouts, which I will talk about in a bit. But in East Hanover, we will hold them on Thursday nights starting July 13th, going through July 27th. For girls entering 7th and 9th grade or 13U, 14U, 15U, they will play from 6 to 8 p.m. And for girls entering 10th to 12th grade or our 16s, 17s, 18s, their session will be from 8 to 10. The same breakdown will happen on Wednesday nights in Flemington, and that will be July 12th through July 25th. And that is the main one that will serve as our ID program for tryouts. So this is the night sessions that we strongly encourage players interested in trying out to attend. They will be coached by our national teams and the national team coaches per age group. We will also hold 2 day camps. The first one, will actually be in Flemington, July 17th to July 20th. The following week, we will host the same camp in East Hanover, July 24th to July 27th. Both are 3-hour camps. Slight difference is 9 to 12 in East Hanover and 8 to 11 in Flemington to beat that heat for those of you that are from Flemington. And to register for these programs, you can visit CJVA.org and go to program/summer. Now, the day camps are open and the day camps have already started getting some registrations. However, the nighttime clinics are not open for registration yet. We will actually be sending the link to our black and white teams first, so that our national teams have priority, because there will be a limit. We have to restrict capacity per age group. So we will first send out the registration link for the night clinics to our national teams first. That'll be open for about a week. And then we will actually open up to the general public for players from outside the club to register. And with that, I'll wrap up with our tryout dates. These were just posted today. I believe they are on the website. You are able to register for now, or at least bookmark the dates. There will be another set of tryouts, but I want to be very clear that these set of tryouts will be for our national team only. Our national teams last year filled up in the summer as well. Maybe 1 or 2 positions were available in the fall, but unfortunately, the way that the rest of the country, volleyball world is working, tryouts are happening early and earlier, just because of the way tournament registrations are happening, the way other clubs are setting it up. We have to follow that, and so we are trying to actually run them before their high school tryouts. I think last year the region set the date a little late, and unfortunately we had to run tryouts almost back to back, if not overlapping their high school tryouts, and that was very difficult for a lot of players. We're trying to not do that this year, and to give them a little bit of break before their high school tryouts. But these will be set. There will be another round of tryouts October, I believe, 7th and 8th for our regional and local teams, and then one final tryout for our 11 to 13 local teams on October, I believe, 29th, 30th. Those are not open for registration, but will open up, I believe, after this first round of tryouts. And I believe with that, we will wrap it up. I know it's just a brief information, but we want to thank everyone for attending. We want to, let you know of some of the things that we're working on for next year, because we are already thinking of ways to improve and to continue to grow our teams. And these 2 programs, I think, will be huge in that regard. We will have a quick question and answer session. And the way we are going to do that, and I'm going to just quickly stop sharing my screen, is through the chat. If you have a question for myself, Coach Andrew, or Coach Drea, or I believe we have a couple others, Coach Hisner, Coach Dustin, just feel free to answer it, and just feel free to send in the group chat to everyone. So right now, the first question we have is, will OUTLAST apply to the boys program? Right now, we hadn't planned on it, mostly because of Drea's availability in the fall, but I believe that has now changed. So we will be working on possibly applying that to the boys season as well. The second question we got was, what if we are away for the week of tryouts? In the past, we have done makeup tryouts, but we can't guarantee a spot. It's a lot different if we know you and you play for us. I think that one is easier for us to do an evaluation. Depending on the location, you can contact me for a separate evaluation. For East Hanover, you can contact Coach Andrew. Andrew, if you can put your email address or mine on the chat, that would be great. But yes, we have done alternate tryouts in the past. The second question is, for anyone currently, not currently on a national program, but aspiring to be, can they attend the camp or ETT versus a night program? That we've actually gotten a couple of questions on as well. And yes, especially if you are on the younger side, myself and Coach Andrew can make that call if we have seen you play, or can just show us a comprehensive grasp of the game, especially 13 red, 14 red. You guys are still learning. That is not a problem. Just contact myself or Coach Andrew. Said the national team tryouts are already open for registration, or when they will be open. The registrations for tryouts are officially open. I believe they went live, excuse me, about 2 hours ago. You can check the website, or actually right on the main page, if you scroll down, it says club team information. That's the direct place to go. Oh, Andrew put the link on the chat. Killing it. Good job. That's it. Andrew, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you guys both did a great job, and I'm really excited to see how the OUTLAST program runs, and as well as the ETT. So I think I'm really excited for the upcoming summer and the next club season.
We actually have 2 more questions. Is the date daytime elite camp equivalent to the nighttime clinic for current national players who are not available till June. I think it will depend. We can answer her separately. We already have registrations for our daytime camp, and we expect to run it the same. But we can't promise the national team coaches will be available during the day versus the nighttime clinics, which will be with our national team coaches. Can regional teams get the preference to sign up for elite team program before open to the public enrollment? Yes, we can do that for sure. We can include our red teams as well. We just want to make sure that we give our club the priority. Awesome. Slowing down. Well, thank you guys for attending. We can't answer all the questions, but I know we just threw a lot of information at you for, regarding our ETT, our OUTLAST, and our tryouts. So please feel free to email us, and we will try to, answer all of them via email. All right.
Real quick, did we record this?
We did record it.
Are we going to send it out?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
We will send it out. There are people, if you are not in the club, just register, sign up for our email list so that you can get a copy of this, this recording as well. All righty. Well, thank you, everybody. I will end the meeting. Enjoy your Sunday night. Bye.